Alright, guys. So, I'm still trying to get over some sorts of a cold or virus currently right now. So, my voice right now probably doesn't sound the best. But this is something I definitely wanted to make a video on about these game prices going up and the CEOs and whatnot, bragging about how it's good for the business, but it's really not for the consumers and whatnot. So, this is a statement coming from Rainey Pitchford from Borderlands 4 that's going to be coming out in just a few months from now. Okay, I'm pretty much excited for this game. Me and a few friends are super pumped to play this. Now, the $80 price point is something that I honestly do not agree with. I still, let alone to this day, even thought that the $70 price point, it just wasn't justified, in my opinion. But they're making it out like saying that the game prices and all this, the budgets and such like that. But what they don't understand is they don't really think about other consumers, about whether if they have to buy groceries for their kids or they only work, a certain amount of hours and whatnot. So then they just think, oh yeah, if you want it, you'll be sure to buy it rather than your kids. And I think it's just so freaking disgusting the way that these higher executives at like these gaming companies just act like that they can be. Now the tariffs, which are definitely not a key factor to the games themselves, consoles and whatnot that come from China and wherever else, that's understandable. But the games themselves definitely are perfectly fine because, I mean, you look at companies like Activision and whatnot, they make like freaking billions of dollars every single year just off alone of microtransactions. Like, they could just have that game, like every new Call of Duty, be on Game Pass Ultimate like it is now, and on PlayStation Plus Extra or PlayStation Plus Premium, and they will still make billions of dollars back just from the microtransactions and as well as the free-to-play Warzone. So even then, Activision would be fine, with Call of Duty and such. But let's read this for you guys. So it continues on and says, Rainey Pitchford shows he's capable of not being an idiot about Borderlands 4 prices, raising questions about previous instincts on being an idiot. So, essentially, a guy has told him, or I think a fan or something like that, a guy that was definitely going to get the game, he mentioned something and said, hey, do not let this game be $80. It's going to hurt your sales and whatnot. And he tried to carefully explain to him. Now, I couldn't find the stuff on here or whatnot. So he tried to tell him that most people are not going to buy the game if it's going to be $80. They're just essentially just going to wait till the game goes on sale like 2, 3, 4 months later and whatnot. And that's just how they're going to be able to play the game. But here's his response to this, and it says, Borderlands boss Rainey Pitchford submitted an all-timer entry into the Pantheon, or whatever you pronounce that, of Neil Barrier Thirst tweets or whatever, earlier this week, telling the players concerned about the potential $80 asking price for Borderlands 4 that if you are a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. Before telling me an whatever, I don't know why they make these weird freaking words on here, about how when he were a lad, I think they didn't make this. They wrote this wrong. This just doesn't look right. He used to lick the fleas from unwashed goats for quarters to play Bubble Bubble or something like that. This went down about as well as you expect, promoting Pitchford to yesterday's follow-up with a clip of him on a panel talking about a potential price increase and wait for it, much more sober and considered terms. So in the interest of not only reporting on Pitchford when he says something incredibly stupid, although let's be the real ones, real, only because it's related, I'm still, this is just not whatever. So we're going to go to this one. But essentially, he's just like, you want the game, you'll find a way to get it. So he's essentially saying that, like, people's not going to worry about their parents or worry about their children, put, groceries on the table, keep electric on for the people. He's just like, they'll make sure they'll buy it, even if they have to worry about other stuff. That, to me, is not smart. That's not very good business whatsoever. That's just essentially trying to force the consumer and say, hey, you want this? Worry about it and not your children. Like, that's just essentially how it is. Now we're going to go to you from a Take-Two Interactive of when the $70 price increase came, which was back in late 2020 when the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X came out. But Take-Two CEO defends $70 next-gen game prices. Games have gotten much, much bigger. And that's essentially another thing, too, is developers and the publishers don't have to make these games, like, massively huge. Like, I've been hearing some popular YouTube content creators that I watch, like Dreamcast Guy and some other ones. They have said that they would much rather have a game be not as big, but still somewhat decent size and scope, and take like maybe 20 to possibly 30 hours to beat. Something like God of War Ragnarok, which definitely does take somewhere around 25 to close to 30 hours just to beat the main story. And that is definitely a masterpiece of a game recent. And honestly, it's definitely one of the only select few games that I think was worth $70, was God of War Ragnarok. But also, Horizon Forbidden West, yes, that game takes around 40 plus hours to beat, but you also got that awesome world to explore, and it's big, but it's not like, insanely huge and all that, but it is definitely big. But with games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and such, that's kind of like where we're talking about that, like, it's going to take you like hours upon hours to beat that kind of game. And I think that a lot of people don't want that. But then you also got other developers and some developers making the current games that are like, oh, well, if I want to get this, special elite weapon, I'm going to have to play this game for hours in order to get it. So they have to play through hours upon hours just to get a certain item. And that's just not what people want to do. We just want to play the games to just enjoy, whether if it's multiplayer or it's just for the single player alone. We just want to play the game. And yes, super, super long, like 100 hours, all that good stuff. Certain games, it's just not all that great. Some games it is. Stalker 2, however, did actually take me like 50 and a half hours to beat just the main game itself. And there was a couple side quests that I did too. But that game is also really fun and challenging and really awesome in the story, because not only are you just playing it for the story, but you're also battling enemies, you're also doing side missions, upgrading your gear, going through your stuff, exploring the world, seeing the different weather change. That's what makes Stalker 2 an insanely great game. It was definitely my game of the year from last year, and I'm absolutely cannot wait in just one more week to actually play it and try it out on our PC when we switch to Game Pass Ultimate. But that is a, game that I definitely would pay $70 for. But $80, I think it's just ridiculous for games. But this is from the CEO from basically Take-Two Interactive. And he says, the Take-Two Interactive has once again defended a rise in game prices. In an interview with Protocol, Strauss Zelnick said that since prices last rose around 2005, so pretty much right when the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 generation first launch. Now, the PlayStation 3 did not launch until a year later after the Xbox 360, so the Xbox 360 was the first console that they raised prices to $60. And even then, at that time, $60 was expensive. But right now, even with PlayStation through the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation, $60 was easily affordable. But $70 is kind of like a little bit cutting it too much. But now, $80 is right now what they're doing. Yeah, I honestly think that there's going to be a lot of people that's not going to purchase games, and they're just not going to have the funds for it, and they're just going to be like, okay, this is not going to be my hobby no more. I got to find something else, because otherwise I'm just going to continue to waste my money, whereas they could probably go on hikes and, take their family out on a hike, go to like a place that, roller coasters and such like that, and that's what they're going to be spending their money on, because they're going to be like, well, this is a better hobby that I'm spending my money on, and I'm counting my children and my family involved rather than just me wasting more and more money than as doing this. And that's what I think is going to happen. So, I'm sorry that I still don't sound the greatest. Hopefully I start getting, better in the next 3 to maybe 4 more days, because I've actually had the sickness that I've had right now for roughly like 3 to 4 days currently already. So hopefully by the end of the weekend I should start getting back to normal and whatnot. But yeah, this is just so disgusting that every company is going to try to defend this whatsoever. There's only one game that could be worth $80, and yes, that is going to be Grand Theft Auto 6. But other than that, a lot of these games are not even worth $60 because they just get rushed out, broken, unfinished, unpolished, unoptimized. It's just, they're just not good at releasing. And personally, this is what's going to make us, this is technically what has made us change our gaming strategy of the way that we purchase games, because now we're only going to purchase games on our PlayStation 5 consoles as our default console. If we want to buy the Xbox version later, then we'll wait for a sale, or we'll just get it through Game Pass Ultimate, where we're basically saving more money and we're still getting a lot of Xbox games to play. Something like Call of Duty when it comes to Black Ops 7 that will be coming out later this year. Like, I'm going to buy that game on our PlayStation 5 as well as our PlayStation 5 Pro so we can get the best enhanced version of it. But if we also want to play the Xbox version, well, we won't be fully buying that game on Xbox. We'll be having it through Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and the same thing with PC. We'll be able to play it on PC just as well through Game Pass Ultimate. So this is kind of like what is going to make us change our strategy. So in a way, we're not getting, forced to buy the same game for its normal new full price across all platforms. Instead, we're just going to buy it for one and wait for a sale on the other system, and then have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for basically to save the money and not buy it on that console. So, yeah, this is just ridiculous with the way that they're doing with these game prices, and it's definitely going to hurt game sales relatively soon in like the next year or so. Like, you can just wait and see, and there's going to be a lot more sales than we've ever had, because they're just not going to be selling the game, and they're going to be like, okay, we have to get this to as many people as possible, so we better put it down to like from $80 to like $55 or something like that, and then people will probably start buying the games. So that's what I expect that this is going to happen, is they're not going to buy the games, and all these developers are going to be like, okay, we need to lower the prices so that way we can get as many people to play. And that's essentially what I think is going to happen. So it's just all dumb. It's just stupid and retarded at this point. So hit that like button if you enjoy this content. Also, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and we'll keep you posted with more content going forward. And hopefully, like I said, we'll get better in like the next 3 to possibly 4 more days. So, sorry if my voice is a little bit low right now. But with that being said, hit that like button if you enjoy this content, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and be sure to leave us a comment down in the comment section down below of these executives, of these gaming CEOs, basically, you know, standing up for the raising prices and not actually thinking about the consumers to where they may not purchase their games. So just let us know in the comment section down below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.